Bet horse racing on DRF Bets. We'll match your first deposit of $200. Get free expert picks and past performances, plus weekly cash back. All from Daily Racing Form, the most trusted name in horse racing. Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Mike Beer. It's Breeders Cup Focus time. We're going to take a look at each individual division and the top 10 list as ranked in preliminary morning line odds order by our colleague David Aragona. Let's take a look at the top 10 for the Breeders Cup Juvenile, and maybe the heaviest favorite not named Flightline on the two-day Breeders Cup extravaganza, Mike, is going to be the unbeaten, untested, and brilliant Cave Rock.
He's going to have to be a pretty short price in this race. There are a couple of, other good 2-year-olds around, Dan, but Cave Rock so far for trainer Bob Baffert, he's made no mistakes. He showed he could stretch out last weekend. He's got 3 really fast races on his card already.
It does look like the West Coast is all the fast 2-year-olds from a buyer scale. You've got National Treasure, number 4 on the list. Kentucky has Forte and Loggins. New York has Blazing Sevens. We click on over to 6 through 10 on our Breeders' Cup Focus top 10 list. Verifying, good second last time out in the Champagne on a wet track. We'll get to him in a little bit, but I want to talk about Cave Rock. I want to talk about his first 2-turn effort. It was in the American Pharoah Stakes at Santa Anita. We're going to watch the stretch drive of this race, and Cave Rock did what Cave Rock's done in every start thus far. He's dominated them.
Yeah, he had good speed, as we've come to expect from him. He did win his first 2 starts on the lead. He had good speed here, made the lead, never really gave this field a chance, Dan, and you can see through the stretch run here, it's pretty strong to the finish of this race. He's given this field absolutely no chance to get into it. He is not stopping at the end. It comes back with a big 104 buyer speed figure. Boy, he's going to be a handful come Breeders' Cup Day.
The only question, I guess, going into that race was his ability to handle the 2 turns, certainly not his quality nor his speed. He passed the 2-turn test with aplomb. He goes into the Breeders' Cup as the big favorite. Forte, though, has credentials. This is a horse who's captured the Hopeful, a grade 1 at Saratoga, and he captured this race, the Breeders' Futurity, his first start around 2 turns at Keeneland, which coincidentally will be hosting the Breeders' Cup. Forte made a nice move on the turn. He catches up with Loggins, who's down towards the inside. Loggins is very inexperienced. He's very game. Forte is, though, professional and tough.
Yeah, it really does come down to a stretch battle here. Forte ranged up to that horse off the turn. Forte got a great ride in this race. He sat in a perfect spot all the way around the track, and this was a pretty solid pace as well. He came up to challenge, even came over and made it a little bit tight there on Loggins at about the 16th pole. But just another really good performance from Forte, who's now a 2-time grade 1 winner. And as you've already pointed out, Dan, Loggins, that was just his 2nd career start, first time stretching out. He ran really well in there.
Tons of upside for Loggins. Forte is tough and tactical and handles 2 turns and handles Keeneland. There's a lot to like about him. Now let's talk about the New York horses. Blazing Sevens and Verifying ran 1-2 in this race, the Champagne, a race contested over a wet track. Now, Blazing Sevens competed over a wet track in his prior start. He was no match for Forte. Here he gets clear in the stretch, and he kicks them down. I wonder if Verifying being down inside might have hurt him in this race, and that perhaps Blazing Sevens was on the better part of the track, but you would know better than I. I do think Blazing Sevens is going to want to run all day long.
I do too. I think it's necessary. I think it's fair, certainly, to say that maybe being down inside was a little bit of a disadvantage. It was also only the 2nd start of the career for Verifying, but Blazing Sevens, he got a little bit overlooked in that race. I guess, coming up with another wet track after he really didn't make his presence felt in the Hopeful the prior month up at Saratoga. Maybe that just sort of turned some people off to Blazing Sevens in the Champagne, but he certainly ran very well to win that race. And you saw him get clear at the end. This horse is a horse who, ran a relatively fast race, winning very easily on debut at Saratoga as well. This horse is pretty good.
2 turns and a fast pace would work for Curly Jack, a horse that's done some good work in Kentucky in his short career thus far. He is 20-1 on David's morning line. He's earned an 86 buyer speed figure. I wouldn't be surprised if this horse takes a step forward. He happens to be catching a star 2-year-old that's going to be the favorite.
Yeah, it feels like he, more than anyone else that we're talking about so far, he's got a lot to prove in here, and he's got a pretty big leap to make, I think, to be competitive. He did win his two-turn debut in the Iroquois at Churchill. It's not my favorite race in the world, Dan, but he did get the job done there. I can't say I was necessarily sold on this horse in his prior three starts, but he did run an 86 Beyer speed figure 2 starts back at Ellis Park, a race that he lost as the favorite, but he still ran a relatively respectable figure.
Thoughts of Instant Coffee's performance in the Breeders' Futurity. We remember he debuted, I believe, going 7/8 of a mile at Saratoga, won at a big price for Brad Cox. The Breeders' Futurity, like Loggins, was only his second lifetime start.
Yeah, it was just his second lifetime start. He had run pretty well, breaking his maiden first time out from off the pace. He was well back early in the Breeders' Futurity as well. And there was a pace, to set up that late run. Both he and Red Route One, who are both on this list, they both came from way out of it, and they sort of finished close together in third and fourth. I kind of felt like they both, had things go their way that day just because they had a pace in front of them. But it's a short stretch, a couple of really good horses in front of them. I thought they both ran okay.
Taking a look at the top five again. National Treasure, no match for Cave Rock in his last start, but earned a big Beyer speed figure. Upside potential here, Mike?
Yeah, of course. He certainly has upside potential. He's another, one of those Baffert horses that looked good winning first time out. Just, had really no chance to go with Cave Rock and that American Pharoah, which was only his second career start. He was only second best that day, but he ran fine.
Some really solid 2-year-olds this year, but they're headed by a brilliant one. Cave Rock tops our list of the top 10 2-year-olds. We're still real early. We're way out from the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, but right now, Cave Rock looks like the heavy favorite.